Changing your life is a phrase that people talk about all of the time. But what does it even mean? For most of us, changing our life means achieving our goals that we set for ourselves, whether that be getting high grades, getting into the university you want, or pursuing your dream career. And at the end of the day, achieving all of your goals and changing your life, it boils down to one thing, and that thing is having good habits. That is the foundation. So that's why in this video, I'm gonna be sharing the 5 core habits that have helped me build the life that I dreamed of as a medical student, a TEDx speaker, and a COO of an edtech startup now by the age of 23. By the way, if you're new here, my name is Archer. I make videos about my experiences navigating life in my 20s while sharing any lessons that have helped me along the way. So let's jump into the first habit. Work 1 minute after waking up. So here's the thing. The part of your brain that's responsible for focus and complex thinking, the prefrontal cortex, it is at its peak in the first few hours of the day. And in fact, there's this saying that 1 hour before 9 is worth 2 after 5. That means that an hour of work before 9 a.m. for most people is literally twice as productive as the time spent after 5 p.m. And I see this all the time in my life. And actually, I'm not joking about working 1 minute after you wake up. There is science backing the fact that getting into a flow state is much easier when you've just been in a state of sleep just before, because you've got no distractions on your mind at all. So your willpower and your decision-making abilities, they are strongest in the morning before all of this decision fatigue sets in. Now, there is an exception to this. If you are a night owl, you probably already know it, and it may be different for you, but for most people in the world, mornings are where you can get the most things done because society runs on this 9 to 5. So when I say work 1 minute after waking up, I do literally mean it. Give it a go, see if it works for you. But really the idea is as soon as you wake up, you try and jump to working immediately. And this is something that I do as much as I can, especially when I really want to get stuff done. I plan it all the night before so that the next day starts fully with execution. And when you do this, you'll realize that you can get an easy 1 to 2 to maybe even 3 hours of deep work done immediately starting your day, getting the challenging and most complex tasks done immediately. And this is called eating the frog. This is one of the strategies that is very well known in the productivity space. So very much protect this time from meetings, emails, messages, and all of the sort, because you want to make sure that you're really moving the needle during this time. And this is what this is exactly for. The way that I make this the most successful possible is that I do my daily review the night before, where I'm looking at what I've done well, what I haven't done well in the day, and what I want to get done tomorrow, so that immediately once I wake up, basically my laptop is already open with the task that I need to do, and I can just get right into it and get everything done. Habit number 2 is don't just sleep for 8 hours a day. And look, I know everyone talks about how important sleep is and that you should sleep for 8 hours a day, but actually people go about it in the wrong way. There is a simple thing that you can do to instantly improve your sleep, right? Sleeping for 8 hours a day, it's actually not the most important thing. Instead, there's this thing called sleep consistency. And this is something that sleep expert Matthew Walker talks about all the time, and you can see all of his things online to talk about how to sleep better. And I actually felt this personally very recently this week. On Wednesday night, I stayed up till 1 a.m. talking to my best friend late at night, and I really enjoyed that. However, at the same time, it really did mess me up on the next day, and I wasn't able to focus, and I wasn't even able to record this YouTube video despite still sleeping for 8 hours. And it was such a strong reminder about the importance of consistency, because although the hours were there, the consistency was way off. I usually go to sleep at like 10:30-ish. So this was multiple hours after that. And so because of this, sleep consistency is actually one of the most important things that I prioritize in my life, which is why I actually use this Whoop tracker here to help me with making that better every single day. Because I'm very consistent now at getting 8 to 9 hours of sleep, but when I do it, that's sometimes a little bit more difficult. So here's how you can improve it and how I'm doing it. So for me, I set an alarm for bedtime. So very clearly, like 9:30 p.m., I need to have that whole hour to get ready for sleep. I'm pretty slow with it. But I want to also go ahead and brainstorm any thoughts that are rushing through my mind and put that down into something, a piece of paper, or rather for me, Apple Notes, so that I'm not thinking about it and I'm not taking these rushing ideas and thoughts in my mind into bed when I'm actually just trying to sleep. I use technology to track the quality of my sleep, to identify patterns of certain habits and how that influences my sleep. One of the things that I've been noticing is that if I eat my dinner earlier, it actually reduces my resting heart rate by a substantial amount, and that increases the quality of my sleep substantially as well. And lastly, it's just not making big changes. When I notice that my schedule is going out of whack and my sleep's going out of whack, I will try to gradually adjust my bedtime by 15 minutes each night to make it earlier and earlier, as opposed to just like sleeping earlier by 3 hours. Because again, the consistency here matters. So those are my tips around sleep that are working for me at the moment. Number 3 is to stack marginal gains using reflection. Without reflection, we repeat the same mistakes and miss opportunities for improvement all of the time. As a result, we don't make those 1% marginal gain improvements every day. When we look at the most successful people in the room, they aren't necessarily the smartest. They are those who learn and adapted the fastest. You know, some people, they actually go ahead and they define intelligence as the ability to change quickly. And one of the fastest ways of actually being able to do that is through something called reflection. You know, there's this saying as well from Charles Darwin that it isn't the strongest of our species that survive, nor the most intelligent. It is actually the one who is most adaptable to change. And so the way that I try and embed this into my life is through daily and weekly reviews. They help me create accountability with myself and prevent my most important tasks from falling through the cracks and not happening. So what does this actually look like? I do a daily review every day. It's a 15-minute activity at the end of the day where I evaluate what went well for the day, what didn't, and what do I need to focus on tomorrow. And I look at this at a productivity lens, but just generally as well. And then I do a weekly review, which is a deeper 30 to 60 minute activity to assess my progress with my goals. Review it on the past week, look at the pillars of my life in terms of how was my energy spent, did I give that energy to the right people, relationships, but also again, looking at work and health. These things are incredibly important because again, I need to look at the weekly version of what worked well, what didn't work well, and what adjustments do I want to make in the next week. You've only got 52 a year. So how do I do this? Well, for my daily review, what I usually recommend is that you just have a simple list of questions that you feel are important to you to check in on every day. What did you do today? Did you follow through with your calendar? Did you get everything that you needed to done? And if not, why? Because that's the key, right? Reflecting on that. And then lastly, what should you move to tomorrow? And then I go ahead and I schedule those tasks in for the next day. Now, this has been an activity that I've been doing almost now for a decade. So to make this easier for you, I've refined this template over, again, the last 10 years, and I've put that in a free Notion template below, which contains all these reflection questions that I personally ask myself all the time, and it's consistently allowed me to make progress in all areas of my life and continue to improve with those. If you want to check it out, it's just in the description below and you can just download it. Habit number 4 is to use a calendar like the top 1%. Most people use a calendar in the wrong way. What's important to know about a calendar is that you want it to be that what gets scheduled gets done. So having a vague intention, that's rarely going to translate to action, even if you've put a time block around it. And you really want to make sure as well that your calendar is serving as this ultimate reality check for you about what do you actually prioritize in your life. What research shows is that when you're engaging in something called implementation intention, where you're blocking something out in your calendar and you're thinking with intent about exactly what you're going to be doing, this increases your follow through and execution by over 200%. So calendar management, it is the difference between being proactive with your life and your time versus being reactive. So what does using your calendar properly even look like? It means that you're engaging in time blocking. You're assigning specific slots of time in your calendar to certain important activities, not just meetings on end or tasks that are not going to move the needle. It means that you're auditing your calendar. Like we just said with the daily and weekly review, you're regularly reviewing how your actual time aligns with the priorities and goals that you set for yourself. And then lastly, it means that you're engaging in proactive scheduling. You're booking time for important work before others can take up that time in your calendar. Your goals are forefront in your mind. So here's how you can do it. And number 1 is just to go ahead and schedule everything. Not just your meetings, but your deep work, your exercise, personal projects, personal commitments, your sleep, even your downtime. I try and use color coding to help me quickly identify these different types of activities, just to make it a little bit easier to see what's going on. If you're gonna be doing deep work, try and have those larger blocks of time, like 90 minutes to 2 hours, so that you're trying to get some solid focus in without fragmenting your day. I recommend scheduling buffer time around certain activities so that you're actually considering your energy levels throughout the day. Don't just have back-to-back meetings all the time if you can't handle that at the moment. It's okay. But lastly, you're reviewing and adjusting your calendar weekly in that weekly review, but as well in your daily review. And that helps you, again, look at how aligned your priorities are with your time. Number 5 is that your dream life is one hard conversation away. Sometimes these are some of the hardest but most important conversations to have. So many times in my life, my goals have required a lot of commitment from me. So much so that I haven't been able to keep up to the usual expectations that I might have with meeting with friends or being there all the time for my family. And they understand, but it's about communicating that and not disappointing those around you, and actually giving yourself the grace to prioritize your goals sometimes as well. So an example of this that happened often in university is that when we get around exam time, I would speak to my parents, I'd speak to my friends to say, hey, I've got this exam coming up and it's been really important for me. I've been prioritizing it for the entire year. I just want to let you know that I might need a little bit of support and help during this time. I hope you understand. I am not going to be available as much to call and not going to be available to catch up in this 1 month period. I'd love to catch up as much afterwards, but just during this time, do you think it'd be okay if this is how we do this, just while I'm focusing on this goal? And of course, most of the time they'll be like, yeah, of course. But now this sets you up to not feel guilt about not meeting certain expectations, and actually allows you to feel supported because they might even find other ways of helping you through this journey. And so these hard conversations, they help so much. And the reason I'm telling you this is because when you set these expectations with your friends and families about the goals that you're working towards, it makes a massive difference. These intentional conversations give clarity to everyone involved. And again, they want to help and they want to know how they can support you with this. And so this gives them, again, that clear idea of what to expect. It's a hard conversation, but it's very worthwhile to negotiate and basically give the respect to these certain relationships so that, again, you're able to work together in harmony, essentially. So to do this, it's simple in concept, but hard to do, which is, make some time. Schedule the time for that dedicated conversation. Don't do it in passing, especially with your close family and friends. Sit down to have a quick chat about it and share your specific goals, why they're important to you, what the success looks like for you. And you want to go ahead and you want to clearly articulate, well, what support are you looking for at this time? For example, you might say, I need uninterrupted time between 6 to 8 a.m. to work on this project. Or when I'm tempted to skip my workout, could you please remind me, why this is important for me to do? Or you might say, I would appreciate if we could actually plan social activities around my study schedule, just around my time. Would that be okay? And of course, you need to also express, your gratitude for their support with this and find ways to reciprocate. There's going to be time for them as well where they need your support, and that's what it is to be a family member or a friend. And then you can go ahead and provide updates when relevant on your progress to those friends and family so that they feel included in your journey. And then you can revisit and adjust those expectations as needed as things change as you're going through that busy period, right? But again, this is keeping communication high and keeping that trust there so that everyone's fully aligned, that there doesn't end up being where there's someone hurt. I think this is the easiest way of avoiding anything like that happening. But I really cannot overstate how many times having that conversation has just helped me immensely. So that's the 5 habits that if you implement, it will allow you to make substantial progress in your life, as it has for me. And thank you for watching again, and I'll see you in the next one.